I think we're live. We are live.
How do I know if we're live?
Well, because I hit a thing over here that you guys can't see.
Oh, it says live, and the camera's gone red.
Can we just talk about getting this set up is quite a...
Yeah, if you could see our room at the moment, because all of the studio lights that we have were set up for Julie's yoga. Mm-hmm. They're nailed to the wall in a studio, and so we haven't got any lights in here. So what we've had to do is take lights from all over the place, turn them around, get them pointing at us, and it's not great lighting. And as somebody with a film background, I do care about good lighting, but hopefully it's good enough. You can see a few kind of shadows behind us.
Yeah, and it's also because of course, we're in the UK, and it's 6 o'clock here, and it's dark.
It's dark.
It's the deepest, darkest of winter days here.
There is no natural light today. It is a miserable, cold, rainy day in London. At least it's not snowing. All the rest of the UK is covered in snow, but London apparently is being spared.
It is cold. We've got a heater on over there, a little small heater, and of course I've got fingerless gloves and hat on. So I want to say...
Somebody loves your hat.
Yeah, I know.
It's
got Jay.
You don't need your hat in the house, honestly.
Everybody knows I wear a hat in the house. It's got Jay. By the way, can I just say, somebody just also wrote in here, said they really like my hair. So that is so kind. I never get compliments on my hair. You always get compliments on your hair.
Yeah, but I deserve compliments on my hair. Not that you don't deserve compliments on your hair as well.
I don't, actually. So that's really kind.
But they can't see your hair because you've got a hat on.
No, but
why don't we show people your hair?
No,
because you can do that live on TV. It's not going to fall out. If we pull it off, there we go. There is Julie's hair. There is her hair.
It's because I've just come from a yoga class. So I did do tours.
I think your hair looks great, just like that.
I know, but
it's sort of
60% of your
natural.
It is. I think somebody was referring to how I recently just had it highlighted a bit. I did do that. Anyway, do tell us where you're tuning in from. You already are doing that. We've got everybody from. We've got a lot of our patrons are on here, which is so exciting. Wonderful, Shona, Sally. If you're a patron, do say hi. Got a lot of the transcribers on here. Jennifer, I wish I could say hi to every single one of you. You guys are so kind. Somebody wrote, Julie, love your cup and all the things you do as a Wonder Woman. Do you know, I said to Luke before we went live, I was like, do you want a cup of tea? And usually he'll just do hot water. So I was quite surprised, pleasantly surprised he said tea.
Because ginger is my new thing.
I don't know if that's
one of my New Year's resolutions.
Is ginger.
Well,
let's talk about that resolution in a second.
She didn't give me ginger tea. You gave me.
We didn't have it. We had
tea called Joy.
I gave you Joy, and I gave myself Relax. And somebody's just noticed my Wonder Woman mug.
Can anybody see my mug? My mug is full of branding for historic houses. Not only does it contain a number of historic houses, and by the way, I can't see Mapperton on there. No, we have not made the cut.
Well, they say that they're sort of general homes, that they're not supposed to.
Is that Pitchford?
It's Pitchford, I was about to say.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious that was Pitchford.
Pitchford
made the cut.
Didn't make the cut. Well.
Gosh, we've got people, Luke, coming in all the way from South Africa. So there's lots of you from America, which is wonderful. Thank you. But we also have people from Portugal, Quebec. We've got somebody from Surrey, yay! So we've got UK, and somebody else I was just going to say, Germany. There we go. Wow.
How was your Christmas?
And New Year's.
We will tell you about our Christmas and New Year if you tell us about yours. So any comments about your Christmas and New Year, and please let us have them. And
later on, I am going to ask you, because if you have any resolutions. We haven't had a chance to sort of discuss that, but we'll go into that a bit later. Somebody said Happy New Year to me in the yoga studio here today, and I was like so taken aback. I was like, Happy New Year? Is it the New Year? Because everything's just sort of blended into sort of a lot.
Into one thing. Now, we had a very action-packed Christmas and New Year. In fact, I would say that it was the busiest Christmas and New Year we have ever had. Julie and I did a count, and we worked out that we hosted over 250 people during Christmas
over
and
8
New
days.
Year. Let us know if you got anywhere near that number. We'll tell you how we did it. We loved it, and we loved having everybody. We loved seeing everybody, but it was a lot.
We loved it.
It kicked off with people coming to stay on the weekend before Christmas, which was fabulous. Great to see old friends. Then on the Monday, we had a drinks party, a Christmas drinks party. Now, normally with a Christmas drinks party, you invite people expecting a proportion,
Half.
maybe as many as a third or a half.
To show up, that's it.
To come. Everybody came. We had 130 people at
140,
Mapperton.
I think.
And do you know what? We couldn't even move in those rooms at one point. We were sort of stuck. But it looked...
So everybody said yes.
It looked
we were like,
wonderful.
what?
The house was lit up. We had the Christmas tree. This year the Christmas tree did not fall over.
No. Thanks to one of our patrons gave us a stand. So that was wonderful. Thank you to Vaughn.
Now, when we do a Christmas drinks at Mapperton, it's usually only local people that come because we don't expect people to drive too far. And in fact, that was the case, wasn't it? It was mostly people, and all generations as well, and some old friends that we hadn't seen for a while. And people drank a lot of Mapperton Cuvée.
Yeah, wow.
They sure did. They got through quite a few bottles there.
It was the hit. And fantastic canapes. Those of you who know Chef Joe, if you've done my Alberta American Heiress supper clubs, online supper clubs. Joe, everybody loves Joe. Joe did the canapes.
Did all the catering.
But we moved all the furniture. And
it wasn't too much hassle, actually.
And all the decorating inside. I did single-handedly, fine, I am going to say this, I did all the decorating in the house.
If you haven't seen some of the earlier episodes of Julie Decorated for Christmas, well, it's past Christmas, so you may choose not to until next year. But can I just say, again, you did a fabulous job.
Thank you.
And particularly decorating the staircase. Because you did it in a way that was a very light touch, and it was just like a vine had woven its way up the banisters. And then you gave it little bits of holly, bits of
I had old hydrangea
pine.
left from a grand historic tour.
And some of you will remember from watching our episodes that we had this enormous Monterey pine that fell down in the gardens and of course provided us with lots of luscious foliage for decorating.
And the
that
smell.
came in very useful, didn't it? And the smell of it
was amazing.
Which only those of you in Monterey, California will know about because that is where it is from.
Yes. No, I didn't.
Why it's called a Monterey pine.
I didn't know that. Now someone's asked.
Wait,
go.
I'm giving the
you
Christmas
know I like
run
butting
through.
them in.
So that was Monday night. Then we had family coming to stay for Christmas itself. We had Christmas lunch. We had, I think, 15 of us around the dining room table. Julie did another brilliant thing. She found a tablecloth that fitted the whole table with Beryl. Was it Beryl or you who found the tablecloth?
I found the tablecloth. So I went into one of those chests. If you've there are still so many discoveries at Mapperton, and there's more coming up. But Luke was like, "There's no way we have a tablecloth that fits this." And I said, "No, there's a place where I know old tablecloths are kept." And lo and behold, I pulled out a black bin liner in one of them. I went through them all, and then
it was the perfect size. So anybody who's coming to Grand Historic Tours again in the future, we will be using that tablecloth.
You were so relieved and surprised.
Can I tell you why?
Or surprised and then relieved.
It's a bit of a secret, actually. Because when we extend the table out at Mapperton in order to fit 15 people, or indeed 14 people around it, we have to put in extra leaves, table leaves. And we have 2 of these. But then we have a third one. And the third one is made of MDF, in other words, fake wood. So if you don't have a tablecloth, the Mapperton table looks wonderfully grand with all the silver, and then you get to the section of MDF and it doesn't look so good.
But we have a plan.
We've got somebody this year who has offered to make us an additional leaf, so we will not have to use the MDF unless we want to go all the way to 17 or 18 people around the table. And then, that sounds exhausting.
Then what? We have to make another leaf.
Well, no, we'd use the MDF, is what I'm saying.
Oh!
Yeah. And then we'd have to have a longer tablecloth if we did that.
Yeah, oh dear.
So that was Christmas. And then Christmas Day itself, as I said, we had this wonderful Christmas meal with all our family.
Yeah.
We had a rather dramatic moment as the Christmas pudding came in, because the tradition here, I don't know about in America, but the tradition here is that we pour flaming brandy over the Christmas pudding as it comes in. Now, the idea is you're supposed to get a bit of the Christmas pudding off onto someone's plate while it is still alight. And that is my challenge every year.
I know.
Did I succeed this year?
Well, this year you lit the holly.
I almost blew up the house.
It was literally, it wasn't just the brandy that was lit. It was literally
because I'd forgotten to take the sprig of holly off
so
the
it
Christmas
came in
pudding.
flaming.
Huge sprig of holly.
I posted that on social.
Did you?
Yeah.
So people have seen that.
Amazing. If you watch my social, I did actually post that.
I hope our insurance company wasn't watching, because that would not be funny. Anyway, no one went up in smoke. That was Christmas Day. Boxing Day. Well, it was a quiet day, wasn't it? Didn't we have a...
Well, Boxing Day, we had to kind of clear up Christmas and then get ready for the next day.
That's true. Because for the next day, having had our close family of about 15 just for Christmas lunch on Christmas Day, we then had our wider family come to Mapperton, and we think as many as 40.
It was 42, I counted.
42 aunts, uncles, cousins, first cousins, second cousins, third cousins.
And again,
came for lunch.
We thought there were 35, so we set for 35, and then more walked in, and we were like, oh my gosh. So we had to set up more chairs around.
But luckily, we did that in the coach house where we
did in the coach house,
an
exactly.
abundance of tables and chairs, so we were able to extend with no problem. And it was brilliant seeing all of the young cousins together, the next generation, a lot of whom know each other, a lot of whom don't see each other that often. And before that, we went on a family rewilding walk, hosted by me.
Yeah, he did that with everybody, and I was in the coach house getting ready.
After lunch, Julie gave an Alberta tour, which I think for most of the cousins was an absolute highlight, because most cousins and aunts and uncles don't know very much about Alberta.
Their great-grandmother.
Their great-grandmother.
Or great-great-grandmother. Because we had,
or
what was amazing was that, or grandmother, we had Alberta's grandchildren in there, we had Alberta's great-grandchildren, and I didn't think that the second cousins, or whatever, their third, second generation would be interested, but we had about 8 of her great-great-grandchildren in on the talk. I mean, the library was packed. I didn't think anybody, we just mentioned it, and they all came.
No, we didn't just mention it. We billed it properly as the highlight of the lunch. And of course, a long troop of family followed Julie into the house, into the staircase hall, and then into the library, where Julie gave a magnificent talk about their great
and the AI, Alberta AI was behaving. There were some very good questions asked.
Of the AI. And it didn't speak Welsh.
Nope, and no, she wasn't, because occasionally she'll speak Welsh. So that was the 27th.
That was the 27th. Are we finished yet?
No, because then we had the day off kind of on the 28th, but we had, remember, during this period we still have people staying, so we had a new group of people coming on the 28th.
And
from
then
New York.
We had some wonderful friends from America coming to stay on the Saturday, which was last Saturday.
Which was the 28th.
Was that really last weekend?
Yep.
Wow.
Which was the 28th.
And then on the Sunday, as if that wasn't all enough merriment, as some of you may have seen, we then had our annual carol service in All Saints Church, which went incredibly well. And everybody sung their hearts out. Hark the Herald at the end.
We live streamed it. It worked okay.
Yeah, the live stream was a bit dodgy because the Wi-Fi in the church isn't too good. But after that, we then had another 60 people back into the house for yet more drinks. Now, the good news was they weren't aware of this, but it was the third outing of the mulled wine. So we had made an enormous pot of mulled wine for the first drinks party on the Monday.
But most people drank the Montague Cuvée. And there were only 10 cups of mulled wine.
Hardly anybody drank the mulled wine. But then for the carols, after the carols, the mulled wine, it had matured.
Yeah.
It had got a wonderful flavour by that point.
People were literally complimenting us, saying it was some of the best mulled wine they ever had. I mean, I gave compliments to Chef Joe, but we left it, and it was absolutely delicious. I mean, it was the best mulled wine. So people are really commenting on my mug.
They sure are. Yeah, I need a Spider-Man one, and then people would comment on mine, but mine's just historic houses. Anyway, that was our Christmas, and then we spent a week at Mapperton this last week, catching up on various bits of work.
Yeah, planning for the year for 2025.
With various people coming back. And
I'm taking over the cafe.
Quite a lot to do, yeah. But before we look forward to next year, shall we see if there's any questions?
Yeah. So if you do have questions, do let us know. Somebody's just asked a really good question. Is there a family cemetery? I'll say cemetery, you'll say cemetery, on the property. We do say those two words differently. We say cemetery. How do you say it?
Cemetery. Cemetery.
There.
Cemetery.
Cemetery.
No, you're putting me off.
Cemetery.
I don't remember how to do it.
Okay.
So the answer to that is no, because there is in fact a family vault at the church outside Hinchingbrooke at Brampton, and that is where many Earls of Sandwich and their family have been buried.
Alberta included.
Having said that, that of course is just one line going back, and many of my other forebears are buried in lots of other places. And we haven't given much thought as to where we're going to be buried, have we, Julie? So let's not think about it now.
No, I'm not. No, I still have a lot of more things I need to accomplish in this lifetime, so I'd rather not think about my death. We'll leave that one for later.
What we do know is that the Mapperton churchyard is quite hard going for burials because it's basically rock. So you need to get, do you call it a jackhammer? What we call a pneumatic drill.
We do call it a jackhammer. I didn't know you called it a pneumatic drill.
Yeah, there you go. That's another
one. What do you call it?
That was quite a sophisticated one for me to know both
It
versions,
was. Jackhammer. You call it a pneumatic drill.
We call it a pneumatic drill, yeah. So you'd need that to get into the bedrock of the Mapperton churchyard.
Yeah, all right. So a couple other, somebody's saying no burial talk. So we were going to talk about this, about our visit in America in March, which is very exciting. We've got our tickets booked.
Really quite soon. We've got to write a speech. We haven't done that yet,
I know.
have we? But we've got a bit of time. So, why don't you describe?
Well, so we, and I think several of you, I know several, even more than several, probably a couple, sort of dozen of you, are heading to Camden, Alabama with us, which is very exciting. Some of our patrons, some of the transcribers have already rented an Airbnb.
Can people still get tickets if they want to come?
I'm not sure. You'd have to look at the Wilcox Historical Society if there are still tickets left.
Google Wilcox Historical Society.
I think it's on Eventbrite.
And then it should be in their events listing.
So what we're going to do is it's full on for us, and we're excited about it. We've got the big sort of drinks dinner with canapes is the Friday night, the 21st. That day they're hosting a lunch for us, and the night before they're hosting a dinner for us. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a patron get together, and I'm just going to organize that, and that will most likely be on the Thursday before the dinner at some point. So it might be like, I just need to find a location there, whether it's a coffee house or if it's, I don't know what's in Camden, Alabama. I need to do some research, but we will then post that to our patrons. So this will be an exclusive patron benefit, and of course ARP transcribers for that as well. So, but again, we will come back to you on that. And speaking of patron, I'm just going to give a plug, because I always do. I want to say a huge thank you to our patrons, which have helped so much in a lot of the repairs and maintenance projects at Mapperton.
Well, more than that, they've helped with restoration projects and all sorts of things at Mapperton that we would not have been able to do without the support of our patrons and those who have kindly contributed to our various fundraisers. So, for example, this year, one of the great highlights was the restoration of the eagles, which went back at the front of the house. And that was an extraordinary project made possible by the generosity of our kind patrons and
donations.
Donors. And Julie, the same has been true for you and
all my projects.
and all your projects. So the library project is an example, the Alberta exhibition.
Yeah, even the Munimit room. And also just other, different projects. So stonework at the house, on the house, around the house. We're constantly, we've got a big one coming up. But the simple stone repairs, the repointing, even Keeper's Cottage, that all the patron donations goes towards these individual projects that we have. And so what we're trying to do is we set ourselves a goal this year of reaching 600 patrons by Easter, and I think Easter is the 13th of April, but correct me if I'm wrong. And right now we're at about 470. So we just need 130 more.
130 patrons to get us to our goal by Easter.
Yeah, and really quickly, what's very exciting is that we are going to be, we've kind of revamped our patron, and starting this month, there's going to be blogs, mini blogs, polls, surveys, similar to what we're doing in AV.
So hang on a second, there's a whole new load of things happening in terms of patron engagement, in terms of the community and activities.
Exactly. So do check it out, because it's really exciting, and we feel that this is, we've got our community on YouTube, we're live on YouTube as well, but we've got more of an exclusive community through Patron. And the link, I'll put it down here if you're interested. And then lastly, because it's my last little plug, is our newsletter. We are relaunching.
Well, wait, because we haven't finished with patrons yet.
Oh, we'll go.
We'll come back to that. I just wanted to say that if you do sign up as a patron, please do it through the website, not through the app on your iPhone, because Apple add an extra 30% if you do it through your iPhone. So it is much better just to do it through the website. And all the income from our patrons goes directly into supporting repairs, maintenance and restoration projects at Mapperton. So you really are helping preserve, conserve and develop this really important corner of England's heritage here in West Dorset, except we're not in West Dorset today, we're in London.
Someone's asked that.
But usually...
We have boys back from, a boy back from university.
Usually we are. So anyway, shout out to all our patrons. And now, Julie, about the newsletter.
So about the newsletter, it's going to be right now a monthly newsletter, and it's going to go into more depth into the history of Mapperton and, of course, the current happenings. We're going to be filling in some gaps in between episodes and in between the spilling the tea. So it's going to be very, again, engaging. And the first newsletter is going out on Monday, the 6th of January. So...
How do people sign up?
Right here, I'm putting the link in the chat, and the link is also in the description, in this description of this live. So do sign up, it's free. And again, these are kind of things that we were talking about in 2024. They're not necessarily resolutions, but where we wanted to kind of, I guess, up our involvement in the community that we've been able to create over the past 5 years. We're so grateful to all of you on YouTube and for those of you on Patreon. We just want to be more involved with our digital, virtual, amazing you. There you go.
Digital you.
That's right.
Digital me.
Exactly.
So Julie, looking at comments here, have we got any other questions? How are the new beavers enjoying life in their new home? Debbie, that is a really important question. Alas, the new beavers are not yet in. And the reason for that is that we have been applying to the agency that governs the release of beavers in the UK, called Natural England. And they gave us a license to release beavers because even though beavers are a native species in the UK, the fact they haven't been here for a few hundred years means that you have to do it in a controlled manner, at least for the time being. And what they've asked us to do is to have one more beaver hunt to try and find our beavers. So we are going to be organising the Great Dorset Beaver Hunt. It's going to be later in January or early February. And we're going to have a team of people going up and down the watercourses, the rivers around Mapperton, to look for any signs of beavers. And luckily we've got some experts to help lead that, and what they're going to be looking for are little nibbled branches, evidence of beavers gnawing away at the bottoms of trees, that sort of thing. Anything that might tell us where those beavers are, because we do need to make all efforts to try and get them back. If we do not succeed in finding them, then Natural England have told us that we can then apply to get a new pair of beavers, and they should arrive at some point next year. We've also started the process, as many of you know, of looking into whether we can bring storks back to West Dorset. These are white storks. They would have...
I would say stork, but there we go.
What did I say?
I mean, just say it really English. It's great.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. For that, we will have to build an aviary, We will have to bring in breeding pairs. And at the moment, we're doing the appraisal to assess whether there's enough habitat, whether there are enough food sources, etc., for the stalks. At the same time as that, there have been a number of you who have kindly donated to the Quackers Memorial Fund. That was in memory of our runner duck, who alas lost her life to a wayward dog. And those funds,
and a woman, but
and those funds are now going into the creation of a pond. We do have a new location for that, and work is set to start again in the next few weeks.
It took a while to get that going, just because you have to do like planning permission, all of that.
Actually, that's not true.
Oh, I thought you had to.
But yeah.
Okay.
No, we didn't. We didn't have to do that because we already had permission for that site.
That's true.
But it takes a while just to kind of really work out what site is going to be best suited for what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Now, somebody's just really quickly asked about peacocks, and I was sent an email earlier this year, or back in 2024, towards the end of the year, by the head gardener at Newby Hall and Gardens, who's wonderful, Lawrence. And they have peacocks there, and they asked if we wanted a few peacocks, and I was keen, but apparently peacocks, even though some people say they won't damage your garden, I think some people say that they will, and I don't know if that's another risk we didn't necessarily want to take right now. I'm not saying no forever. I'm just saying I had to say no this time.
Well, one issue is they make an enormous racket. So you can be happily asleep, and at 5 o'clock the peacock will let rip with a bit of a cacophonous
love
sound.
that word, cacophonous. Perfect.
Right.
So
there's lots more questions.
Yeah. So there are lots of more.
How many
questions.
acres are you rewilding? It's currently about 1,000 acres that we're rewilding, but we're looking to bring in another couple of hundred or so into the project this year. So it's going to be somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200, which is a substantial bit of land. At the moment, these areas are not all connected, and one of the things we want to do is to bring back a piece of land that is currently being used for farming, which sits in the middle. And then we can connect the two sections together by adding in this farm. And I've been talking about this for a while. We are in the development stage for a rewilding channel. So that is another thing to look out for in 2025. We are still struggling with what to call the channel and exactly what sort of programs to make, because filming wildlife is quite different from filming people, so I'm told. But luckily, we've got an expert who's helping us think through all of that. And it means that we have to get the timing right, because there are certain times of year where a lot is happening. In other words, the spring and the summer, and then things sort of die away a bit. But watch this space. We've got some plans. Right.
Well, a couple more rewilding questions, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Is the beaver enclosure ready? Did you answer that?
Well, the beaver enclosure has been fixed, absolutely, and we've put in major earthworks to stop it from breaking again if there's a storm.
And are we getting more pigs this year? And that's a question. We've just watched, if you haven't watched this, it's on Netflix. It's called Wilding, and it's about NEP, who started their rewilding project over 20 years ago.
I think it might be on Apple TV.
Maybe it's Apple TV. Thank you.
Anyway, yes, you must watch this film if you haven't already. Good. And it's called Wilding. We think it's on Apple TV. It could be Netflix.
Can't remember.
You might have to pay for it.
It's worth it.
But it's absolutely worth watching, because it tells the extraordinary story of the Knepp estate, where Charlie and Izzy Burrell pioneered rewilding in this country, and it's beautifully photographed.
So beautiful.
Our rewilding channel, by the way, I don't think is going to match some of that photography. They had these wonderful shots where the camera would pan across the landscape, and what was an arable field would suddenly blossom with scrub and trees, and it would
wildlife,
and it would come to life.
And the bird song. I mean, they talk about the bird song, how there was sort of none when they took over, and then all of a sudden it's so loud. The bird song is just
they've had
extraordinary.
They've had wonderful species coming back, including in particular the turtle dove, where I think they have one of the largest populations in the south of England. The purple emperor butterfly is now and Charlie is obsessed with dung beetles. He spends a lot of his time looking at cowpats and pulling out beetles to see what different species
there's
I think
so
he's
many.
got as many as 30
Yeah.
species of dung beetle at NEP. So these are all things that we have still to do at Mapperton, and we are. I mean, we have to acknowledge that the reason that we are doing the rewilding at Mapperton is directly as a result of NEP and their experience, and also their openness, sharing with us how they did it, and encouraging us to do the same.
Someone's just asked, would love to see Luke's mom again. Talk about flowers, which we will do once the gardens are open. But I've just filmed a scene. Was it yesterday? Because we were at Mapperton yesterday. Yes, it was. Sorry. It's like, yes, I filmed with your mom in the morning yesterday.
That's right. Because one of the big projects, as you know, is the restoration of the farmhouse up at Coltley.
Yep.
And my mother has, as you would have seen on previous episodes, or you might not have seen, but if you haven't, there are episodes covering furniture that she has in need of restoration that is going to go into Coltley Farmhouse. And Julie has been looking at those pieces, and there's quite a few coming.
There's so many pieces. So we just have to, they're in all very good condition. They just need to have a little bit of, they need to be restored a bit.
Can I make a suggestion? Because I think this would be wonderful for people to see, which is that you make contact with the furniture restorer and do some episodes with him teaching you on these pieces.
Oh my gosh!
Wouldn't that be good? I think that would be lovely. I'd learn a lot.
Oh my gosh! I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to write that down.
Polish.
I'm going to learn how to. I'm so going to do that. Brilliant. Hold on. We've got some. Somebody's just asked us. Wait.
Somebody says they
about New Orleans. Sorry, could you please? There was a relation, something with New Orleans and your ancestors. You've mentioned it before. Or
yes,
what was it?
My grandfather was invited to be a free man of New Orleans, or was it my great grandfather? I think it
was it George.
It was either George or Hinch
or Victor.
We need to find that certificate. You're quite right. Well remembered, whoever that was, because I'd almost forgotten. And when we go there, we should brandish this certificate at the gates of the city and see if they let us in as free people.
We are going to sort of, once we're in America, in Camden, Alabama, we have a plan to take a little holiday in America.
We are going to take a holiday. We're going to New Orleans.
Yep.
And then we're going to drive along the Gulf Coast, the Panhandle.
Yep.
All the way over
to my sister.
Your sister, who is around the kind of seaside area.
Yeah, like that Panhandle of Florida.
Yeah.
Called 30A.
And then we're going to stay for a couple of nights. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go to the beach.
Yep. And we're flying and out of Atlanta because it was just we just want a straight shot from London to Atlanta. Then we're going to get in a rental car and drive to Camden, Alabama.
Yeah. Wow.
So exciting.
More questions.
So one thing I just want to say, a lot of people have said some possible names for the Rewilding channel. It's really interesting. We've got Wilding Mapperton, Mapperton Alive. Hold on, just so you can, so I just remember
Mapperton
these.
Live and Mapperton Alive.
Yeah. Which is, and then there was another one. Write it down. Oh, I quite liked the one. I like them all. Don't get me wrong.
Are you missing one?
I am missing one. Somebody
wrote
it
while you're looking. One of the things that I think is that it is important.
Mapperton Gone Wild. That was it.
Mapperton Gone Wild. Yeah.
There we go.
Does the word rewilding itself need to be in the title? Do enough people in America know what that word means to understand what it's trying to say? That would be a question. It's become quite a popular word over here, but I don't know whether it's travelled across the
And there's Mapperton
Atlantic.
Wild also.
Yes, Mapperton Wild has been on the list actually.
Yeah.
So whoever's
a couple of Mapperton Wilds, and Princess Pebbles has done that as well.
Mapperton Wild.
Wild and Out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
That is still one of the favourites, I think.
Oh, someone's asked this. This is really interesting. I'd like to know this. Are you going to clear the pond where we had the picnic on the island?
Well, funny you should say that.
Yeah, no, he's asked it. Good question.
Julie and I are going to be away for a week, and then we come back, and one of my first meetings is with a hydrologist to look at the watercourses of Mapperton, because one of the wonderful things about this coming year and about the previous year has been the fact that Mapperton is helping to develop what's called a landscape recovery project. This is taking nature recovery principles that we apply at Mapperton and encouraging neighbours and farmers and landowners to do the same on their land. And so far, 57 of us have got together to do this.
Amazing.
And this is all around the catchment, which is the river basin that runs along the side of the River Brit. The River Brit runs down the middle to the sea. Mapperton is on the sort of northeast side, and we're up in the headwaters. We're higher up, and the River Brit goes down into Bridport.
Is it big? Is our
and one of the problems
town?
that we have here, as with so many towns, is that there is regular flooding. And part of the reason that there's regular flooding is because when we have more rain, as we do these days, that water quickly pours off the land, in large part because a lot of the land doesn't absorb it, gets into the river system, rushes down, and then floods Bridport.
Yes.
And part of our project, the Landscape Recovery Project, you don't know this, is to look at flood mitigation. What can we do in terms of natural interventions to slow the water when we have a big rain event?
Beavers?
And one of the things that we can do is beavers. But another thing that we can do, coming back to that question, is to create more wiggly rivers, and in particular put in place what are called retention ponds. So ponds that fill up when you have a lot of rain suddenly.
Yes.
And that means that rain doesn't all suddenly rush down the catchment into the river and flood Bridport. It gets held up
right,
in these retention ponds. And so back to Birch Hill, which is the one with the island in it,
with the pond.
we think that pond would make a great retention pond, and that we will therefore clear it out, we hope, subject to the hydrologists that we're meeting, and hope that can also be somewhere that holds back water. And I have a secret other hope for it as well.
Which is?
That it could be a wild swimming pond.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you could just swim around the island.
I could. What's in
round
there?
And round
What's
and
in?
round. Oh, some really deadly creatures.
Yeah. Whereas I know the pool is basically frogs and newts. I'm okay with that, but like,
there's all sorts of
what is in that?
Snakes and deadly creatures.
Not sure on that one.
We don't have any deadly creatures in England. It's a very tame country. We've got one snake that is slightly poisonous. We have spiders that don't bite. We haven't got any sharks.
You do have one bad spider.
We haven't got any sharks. No one's ever been bitten by a shark.
You do have a
in the
bad
UK.
spider here. There is that one. There's not.
No, but it's never bitten anybody. You know, it just doesn't happen. It's a very calm, tame.
Can I just say we've got 750 people on?
750 people.
That could be our biggest record ever.
Do you
So
think?
I just want to say thank you so much. I just want to point this out because she's written it twice, that apparently you remind somebody of their old GCSE geography teacher, and then she screenshotted you right now and sent it to her friend, and her friend said, "Oh my gosh, yes you do." It's just quite
in my
funny.
manner or in my haircut, or both maybe. Now there's somebody who's thought of the channel being called Rewilding Mapperton, and do you know what? That it does what it says on the tin, doesn't it? There's an
I know.
advantage to
I
that.
think it's just sort of, because then you'll be like, okay, that's what it is. Someone's just reminded me, sorry, I'm going back to my Patron hat. Someone's just reminded me to put the link is in the description, but it's patreon.com/Mapperton Live if you're interested in helping us achieve that goal of 600. You guys, it's such an amazing community, so do check it out. And plus, they're instrumental in preserving Mapperton
within
for the
that
future.
community is just the number of people that we've got to know personally.
Yeah, I know.
Either
Friends.
they've come to stay, either they're people that we see on our live Q&As, and it's just wonderful making all these new friends all across the world, but particularly North America.
Yeah, exactly. Now, somebody else asked me earlier up, because I remember this one. Am I going, and this is a really interesting question, I think it was Jennifer, asked me, am I going to be visiting any other American states and giving sort of a chat on Mapperton and Alberta? And the answer is hopefully yes. So I'm in contact now with a club in Chicago that has been interested, and I can't say which clubs yet, and a club in New York and a club in DC. So it might not be for 2025, it might be for 2026. And the reason I say 2026 is because all three of them are interested in also the book. So I'm writing a book, and we were going to talk about that. So it will be, by the time 2026 comes around, you'll at least be able to pre-order it, because it's hitting the bookshelves.
So wait a minute, you're going to be one of these people who goes and gives talks, and then you've got an enormous pile of books and you're going to be signing away at the end of it.
That's what I want.
Do you think they're going to want my signature as well?
So what I'd like to do, everybody, is do, yes, you can. You're definitely going to come with me, is come over October 2026, because the book will be out then, and then sort of hit Chicago. It's Chicago, New York, and DC, and hit all three because they're quite close to one another, and do book signings and talks there. So that is the plan. Not 2025. We'll do the Wilcox Historical Society, and then, but I want to wait for the book to come out. So people are really excited. The book is, we took some photos over Christmas because Luke is a very good photographer, and then Luke and I are away for a week. We kind of, we've just paused there.
Has it frozen?
Oh no, it froze for a second. Okay, it's fine. It looks like it.
It's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So
Luke, I like the bit. Luke is a good photographer. Did I take some
you
good
took some really good photos.
I thought I took one or two nice ones.
Really good.
For the book.
We need 300, but we do have a family friend who's also a photographer, studied photography.
I probably got 10. So we
now
we need 290.
Maybe not 10, but so 5 good ones. So we've got our first big photo shoot coming up on the 16th. I'll definitely get some behind the scenes, but Malcolm, interior designer extraordinary and a really good friend of mine, he is going to be helping me doing the styling. And then we've got the photographer, Jessica, who will be coming, and it will be the three of us all day on the 16th for our first shoot.
Malcolm is also going to advise us on another quite big change at Mapperton, which is that we are thinking of turning the hall into more of a hall. Mm-hmm. Currently, it is furnished as a really comfortable place to sit, which I really like, and it's got some comfortable sofas. So I shall be sad on the one hand. On the other hand, it was originally the Great Hall at Mapperton, and it is probably better suited to having earlier furniture. So we've got a long refectory table. We've got what we call Cromwellian chairs. These are leather chairs that we
and they're not being seen.
And part of the reason for doing this is that for the first time, people getting married at Mapperton are going to be able to use the house. That is one of our big changes for this year. And already it's doing really well. We only launched it just before Christmas.
Holly did a show around, and then over Christmas.
You did a show round?
That's right. On the 23rd of December, I was like, nobody can go into these 3 rooms in the house. I'm doing a show round so that Holly could have a day off. I did the second show round, and they've booked. So they've booked, and then Holly has done 2 show rounds today, both of them wanting interiors as well. So that's something really new and exciting. And I'm just going to follow up on that. So we open to the public because somebody's asked us when we open. We open on Mother's Day here in the UK on the 30th of March. That's a Sunday. And we hopefully will be able to change that hall so it looks like, putting in that furniture that makes sense. But this year, we are reopening back up because we've been told to. The West Room, which, as many of you know, is where I store the textiles, store furniture that we're not really using in the house necessarily. So I have quite a big job, don't I, to get that room ready.
You need to get that room back.
But I'm going to rearrange the furniture,
And we're also going to be hanging some new pictures in the dining room. Julie has taken down the tapestry there.
Yeah, I took it down
one day
2 days ago by myself.
I suspect that won't be anytime soon.
It will be, yes.
But we have to replace it, obviously, with some pictures, and in particular pictures that have come back from Hinchingbrooke. So that's quite exciting.
Yep.
I want to make sure that, because I don't know the pictures that have come back from Hinchingbrooke, and it's important to have pictures that you want to look at, because some pictures, some portraits aren't all that attractive. Some of my ancestors were not the most handsome.
What I did is I did a little walkthrough with I didn't film this, everybody, but I did a little walkthrough because we were filming other things, but I did a little walkthrough with your mom, and she's given some very good suggestions, which I need to talk to you about, which we will film.
We will film that.
And I will film the suggestions that your mother has.
But we'll also get your input as well, because that helps with lots of decisions.
So the dining room will be different this year, which I think especially for the volunteer tour guides, they like it. All of a sudden, they're coming back again for the season, and there's some new pictures, and people can, it's something new for them to talk about. Anyway, I think...
Any last questions?
Somebody likes the pic behind us. Maybe just get a shout out to Paul Maz.
Well, I mean, the picture behind, yes,
I like it.
Is by a painter called Paul Mars, who was a great friend of George and Alberta, and he also taught Winston Churchill how to paint.
So if you go to Blenheim Palace, there's a whole, well, the room that Winston was born in, they have Winston's paintings up, and they look very much like Paul Mars, but there is a sort of a card about Paul Mars teaching Winston how to paint.
I think,
Yeah.
because we've got children here,
We do.
and they're going to start clamouring for their supper, we better call it a day.
Yeah,
and
and
thank you all so much for joining our
We hit 800.
live. We hit 800. It's tailing off a bit now.
It is tailing off a bit. So
but it's been great fun doing this, and we will try and do this a bit more frequently. We will be back to a regular episode next Saturday. And in the meantime, we wish you all an incredibly happy New Year.
And I've just put the link in for the newsletter that we're starting for Mapperton Live, and that is in there as well, but it's also in the description. And that's it. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Happy New Year.